Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha.
All right. So we are having the opportunity to engage in this text, and we're parsing out the bits of the text that I hope you find meaningful, practical. I'm trying to really take slices that we can utilize in our daily lives. And last week we talked about the value of taking precepts of ethical conduct. Apparently it's the source of all happiness and good, so might be a good thing to do. I don't know. So, good foundation. So simple, so straightforward, found in all traditions. The opportunity to recognize virtue. I think of virtue as the ultimate self-care, and the opportunity to really generate a sense of well-being, a sense of worth and value. Remember just this aspiration I had in my life, which I should bring to mind more often maybe, but to live with nothing to hide. You know, like whatever you found out about anything I did, it's all right, nothing to hide. So much of my life, there's a lot of things I did not want you to know about what I have done. But the freedom of living in a way you feel good about, whatever flaws, whatever mistakes, screwed that up. Yeah, okay, that was me. Don't need to make an excuse. To act in a way that I'm okay with. That, what's the old saying? Character is what you do when nobody's looking. Yeah. And the freedom, so in this virtue allows for that process of, any of you can look at my phone, it's fine. There's a time in life, well, probably back then we didn't have these phones, but yeah, you get the idea. And so this three higher trainings: ethics, concentration, wisdom, ethics, virtue. And last week we touched base on the value that we have if we take precepts like vows of, we have 5 basic precepts that are in Buddhism. You'll find very similar. Islam and Christianity, don't kill, don't steal, avoid sexual misconduct, and so forth. So it's no killing, no lying, no stealing, no sexual misconduct, and then avoiding intoxicants. And the thing that's helpful with Buddhism, if somebody could get there, and it's challenging because we have sort of a ingrained Judeo-Christian, mind of there's no one punishing you. It's like, it's just the way the world works, when you're not stealing, not killing, the way the world works and the qualities that come about when we, instead of killing, we actually protect life. It's a very different karmic result. But there's nobody up there pushing the buttons, and if you have an intoxicant, it's nobody saying you shouldn't do that. It's just saying, well, if you avoid these things, you're going to avoid a lot of suffering. And if you engage in their opposites, virtue, you're going to wind up a lot more joy and happiness in your life. It's going to work out that way, just the way it is, not a judgment around it. And I think it was at our retreat on Sunday, we kind of talked about how harmful things that we have done actually can become the cause of greater good. I've done something, I feel bad about it, and I want to change. And so something I did negatively actually becomes karmically the cause for me to be a better person. And so, things are very malleable. It's not like, it's like a spreadsheet. Did those things, okay, and did that, but much more dynamic that when I recognize there's things I've done in my life that's not how I want to be in life, that have harmed myself and others, and it inspires me for change. And I reflect upon that, understand that, and choose to be a different person. Well, then those are becoming the causes and conditions for virtue. And so it's really trying to get out of a mindset of good, bad, right, wrong, and all that. It's just messy. We're messy. And then it's okay. We're messy, right? I mean, you guys are all liars, basically, right? Anybody here never lie? Isn't that cool? I can just get away with calling you a liar. It's like, wow. You're also truthers, right? You've all told the truth. We've all lied. We've all told the truth. We've all done things we don't feel good about. We've done things we feel great about. It's just messy, We're trying to figure out how to live. And over time, we get a little more skillful, and learn what's not helpful to myself or others. But the baseline Buddhist principle is that all happiness and good comes from virtue, all suffering from non-virtue. And so that's a working hypothesis, and that's the way I think is ideal to approach pretty much anything, but Buddhism particularly. And we adopt a working hypothesis. Well, that's a hypothesis, test it out. When I do good things I feel good about, do I feel good about who I am? Is there more resilience and so forth? Do things I don't feel good about, how's that work out? And then you might find out that if you keep doing, pretty virtuous things and being kind of honest, people actually let you come over their house. They might even want you to be around. Kind of interesting that way. And a little kinder, a little open-hearted, you might, wind up healthier relationships and so forth. And so this process of being virtuous then provides an atmosphere, condition for us to engage more deeply in the practice of taming the mind. That's the next one here, is concentration, the ability to concentrate, to be present, to attend to what I'm choosing to. And if I'm not feeling good about who I am, agitation, worry, fear, anxieties, and so forth, it's hard to meditate. But the ability to meditate is very correlated to my peace of mind, how I feel about myself. And so the relationship between virtuous activity, taming the mind, concentration, they work together. And so the section we talked about last week with ethics and virtue, and the idea of taking precepts is that there's a different energy when somebody vows, like, for example, not to kill. You're not just not killing, but I'm actively not killing all the time. There's a karmic energy with that. I've made a vow, I'm not going to do that. So I'm very mindful. And I'm stepping over the ants when I'm walking on the sidewalk. I'm, noticing where I can be helpful. So there's a karmic energy that's very different when you've taken a vow, like not to lie. You watch your speech more, and you're actively not lying. Okay, I had like 5 dad jokes pop up there, but I think I'm going to resist. We'll see. So actively not. We're guarding our speech. We're actively doing something. So there's a karma that's taking place all the time with that. So when somebody takes just the refuge vows, the 5, won't kill, don't steal, don't lie, sexual misconduct, and intoxicants, and You know, a lot of people get tripped up on intoxicants. That's where some of the folks recently took some vows and something. Yeah, Drupala, a lot of Westerners, a little tricky around the intoxicant vow, she lets you pick the vows you want to take. So a lot of people took, what was it, 4.5? It just, dulls the mind. We often, if we're drunk, don't make very healthy choices. And other intoxicants. So just, again, it's not that you're a bad person. You're just really undermining your capacity for clarity, presence. So these types of, it's much more about guidance, There's no thou shalt nots. It's much more of, you're going to be a lot better off if you don't kill, don't lie, don't steal. Cultivate the opposites, where we are authentic and truthful instead of lying and so forth. And if someone makes these promises, you're just going to be actively not doing those things. And it creates a different karmic imprint. It's really merit, virtues, merit. So that's where we were. And then the next step in the book went to concentration. And so we talk a lot about concentration, shamatha practice. And what I thought might be more valuable at this point is moving into the section of the book on the antidotes to these afflictive states that interfere with a serene, calm mind that we could meditate with. So like the 5 hindrances and so forth. So I'm going to pull up that part of the text, which looks like chapter 7. Obstacles and antidotes. I mean, that sounds like a pretty good chapter. Doesn't it? Yeah. I didn't find one that had, dessert and picnic time. That'd be an interesting chapter too. But actually that might play into this. Obstacles and antidotes. And so when you think about the obstacles, what they're really doing is preventing us from clarity, from presence of mind, from free will, from choice, from the ability to engage in life skillfully. These obstacles, mental, emotional obstacles. Learning the method to attain serenity is a precious opportunity, even if we are unable to implement every facet of it in this moment. We employ whatever we can in our daily practice, gradually increasing our ability to concentrate. When possible, we do long or short retreats. Studying and applying these teachings enables us to practice properly and to deal with the various hindrances that everyone experiences at one time or another while meditating. These instructions are detailed, and it is worthwhile to study them well. So the 5 hindrances, these are the main, and it comes up in meditation, but you'll notice it comes up in life. I would like to be attentive and pay attention to what I'm doing or who I'm talking to, and you may find your mind has gone somewhere else and might have something to do with these. When we meditate, distracting thoughts and afflictions easily arise in the minds of us ordinary beings. As our introspective awareness improves, we notice these more. Memories of the past, plans for the future, objects of attachment, and images of people and situations we dislike pass through our mind. Some may think meditation is making them more distracted. But in fact, this jumble of thoughts has been going on for a long time. And only now are we noticing it. These thoughts and images impact us, affecting our outlook, our moods, self-confidence, and behavior, even though we may not register them at the moment. And that's one of the really fascinating things. It's wonderful, I think, when we get a chance to meditate or try to meditate. You notice there's a lot going on. And, eyes on the breath, 1 breath, 2 breath, 3 breaths. And, at some point later in the meditation, realize you've got your next vacation plan and exactly when to buy those tickets and what's going. And what I like to notice is trying to remember when my mind left the breath. Because you'll never remember that. You'll never remember when the mind left the breath. And at some point, you notice you had this whole thing going on. That whole time's unawareness. Your mind went off on its own. You were paying attention to the breath at some point. You recognize your mind was off doing something. And this is normal life. All day long, our minds telling us what to think about, what to worry about, what to desire. This impulse comes up, this idea comes up. I'd rather do this. And I'm just, I'm not even driving the car. I'm in the back seat. And I don't even notice my mind has been doing this the whole time. And so the opportunity to even notice how busy all that is incredible. It's incredible. It gives you an opportunity for potential for choice. We may not have the muscle to develop that, but a lot of people, that's, that thing, my mind's too busy to meditate. I find that one fascinating. It's like saying, yeah, I have cancer, so I can't do the treatment. I've got this illness, so I can't do anything to, fix it. And, minds are busy. So the antidote then is taming the mind, right? Whether it's meditation, mindfulness practices, different methods. And so these 5 hindrances are these sort of primary ways that the mind, gets hooked one way or another, this mind-body experience here. But it's quite fascinating to recognize that what we're noticing now happens all the time, and we didn't have a role to play. We didn't choose to think that thought of anger. It just arose. I didn't think it. It just was there. All right. Because distracting thoughts are so pervasive, Asanga strongly advises that before we seriously endeavor to cultivate serenity, we direct our meditation towards subduing whichever affliction is strongest so that it does not repeatedly interrupt our meditation. Meditating on the objects for purifying behavior helps this. Becoming acquainted with the 5 hindrances and developing skill in their antidotes is also essential. This will make our mind more malleable and improve our ethical conduct and our psychological well-being. With a more virtuous and focused mind, concentration, bodhicitta, and wisdom can grow. So purification, they note, is really important. We can be purifying. We have that opportunity every day, but then identifying the biggest affliction and working with that first. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. In the Pali, Tibetan, and Chinese Buddhist tradition, all speak of 5 hindrances that interfere with the cultivation of concentration: sensual desire, malice, lethargy, and sleepiness. When's the last time you used lethargy in a sentence? Huh? Yeah, John, you're looking kind of lethargic. Is that a word? Lethargic, thank you. Yeah, lethargy. And sleepiness, restlessness, and regret. So that's agitate, restlessness, and regret. And deluded doubt. So these are the 5, right? Sensual desire, malice, lethargy, sleepiness, restlessness, and regret. So very active and deluded doubt. The explanation below is the amalgamation of instructions from these three traditions that come to the same point. It includes citations from the Pali Scripture, citations from Nagarjuna's commentary. They're just validating where this comes from. Nagarjuna's commentary to the Great Perfection of Wisdom found in the Chinese canon and the meditation of Vasubandhu's Treasury of Knowledge, and its auto-commentary in the Tibetan canon. Although the five hindrances are separate mental factors, separating one from the other in practice is not always easy because they arise in close proximity to one another. For example, we perceive or think about a pleasing person and sensual desire arises. But soon after, that same person becomes annoying and malice arises. This occurs because the craving and delight affiliated with the sensual desire are also the cause for aversion and malice. These emotions are not unrelated. The five hindrances obstruct the mind from abiding calmly and stably on the meditation object. It is the work of samadhi to clear these hindrances and calm the proliferations of thoughts and moods. To overcome them, we must see them clearly and then apply the antidotes. So one of the things that's really good to know about shamatha practice, if one were to achieve shamatha, that state of serenity and calm, you're free of these hindrances. They don't arise. Totally free. Tend to whatever you want to, on demand, no problem. The ultimate antidote is that state of samadhi, of that capacity to attend to what we choose to. You're just totally free of these hindrances. But generally, we need to work with the hindrances as they arise. And as we get more stable, then we can cultivate our attention better, refine it. So sensual desire, it sounds like sexual desire, that would be part of it, but sensual, the senses, eyes, ears, sounds, sensual desire, desires for things that are pleasant to the senses. Sensual desire is attachment for objects of the desire realm, be they material, such as money, possessions or food, or social, such as approval, praise, and reputation. Sensual desire is the hallmark of most societies. We are consumed with wanting more or better, and our minds are filled with plans and images of everything we believe will bring us happiness. That would be the direct opposite of contentment. People are often afraid to be content. It's fascinating. Is to think, well, how are you going to strive if you're content? Wow. So what would it be like to, when we just sit, have a cup of tea, no distraction, your own house, maybe on your front porch, recognizing you have a porch, you have the drink that you desired. Everything's met. Everything is met. Not in pain, comfortable. Just gonna sip. How quickly the mind goes to what am I want to do next? What else can I go do today? What do I do when I get this? What's the plans? So you start noticing this arise, and it comes up, and after a while, that really nice patio chair that you got on your front porch that was so nice to get. It's not a place of contentment. It's a place to sit while you plan on what you need to do next to have fun or be okay or worry about. and you're okay. I mean, you have your chair, you have your porch. Maybe you have we had some Big B's lemonade the other day. That's some pretty good stuff. But can we even enjoy what we're drinking, or is the mind going to what else would be interesting? What else I'd like to do? Where else we'd like to go next? And so you can see just how quickly the mind is so programmed to that next thing. And it's the opposite of just cultivating contentment and well-being in the environment that I'm in. So this is, one of the real big ones here. Sexual desire is human beings' strongest desire, and modern culture extols it. From childhood, we have been exposed to sexual images and have received the message that a large part of our worth as human beings is being sexually attractive, in addition to the natural desire that our bodies have as biological organisms. Our self-esteem becomes wrapped up in our appearance and our sexuality. This overemphasis on sex is psychologically unhealthy. While pleasure itself is not bad, attachment to it diverts our mind from spiritual practice. Yeah, so just backing up that last piece, just the image consciousness, the need, the desire, the attraction that we get caught up in. I watched this guy give a talk once. I think he was still a monk at the time. And they asked him, like, why do monks have, bald heads? And he told you to calculate how much time and energy you spend on your hair. Looking in the mirror, combing the hair, getting the shampoo right, the shopping for the shampoo and the things that we do. And he calculated, it was like years of your life, just doing your hair. And one of the things we don't have to do is we got a few of us in here. We're doing okay, right? We don't no head hair. And but our clothes, our image, what do people think? Am I attractive, not attractive? And then you can see all the neurosis in our culture and the mental and emotional, afflictions that arise because I don't look like so-and-so or how I should look, and that just overemphasis. And Buddhism, wants you to just be okay, have good, healthy sex with people in an authentic, healthy way. It's okay if you got a little belly, tie your arm here, okay? It's okay, right? All right. It's a spare tire. That's what I was looking for the word here. Used to be all up here. I don't know. Gravity, I guess. Yeah. So, what would it be like to just appreciate yourself as you are and not have to worry about all of that, Content with your body, who you are, how you show up. That's what that would be like. So while pleasure itself is not bad, attachment to it diverts our mind from spiritual practice. We can spend an entire meditation session lost in fantasies of sensual desire. I'm just thinking how many sessions I've had just thinking about cherry pie. So when the desire manifests, we often feel compelled to fulfill it no matter what. This leads us to make impulsive decisions that often create destructive karma and bring problems down on us. Remembering the impermanent and unsatisfactory nature of the desirable object or person is helpful to subdue the urge to grasp it in order to fill the void, boredom, or loneliness inside of us. There's a lot there. Remembering the impermanent and unsatisfactory nature of what you're focused on is an antidote. Let me see what he says next here. Nagarjuna said in commentary to the great perfection of wisdom, Desire is the net of the demons and an entangling web from which it is difficult to escape. Desire constitutes a burning heat which dries up all bliss. Desire, like drawing close to a fiery pit, is extremely fearsome. It is like cornering a venomous snake, like an enemy invader brandishing a knife, like swallowing molten copper. That's getting pretty grim. Like a lion blocking one's path. All desires are just like this and are worthy of being feared. Desires cause people to undergo torment and suffering. And so that requires clarity right off the bat. It's okay to desire things. It's a technical desire they're talking about, an attachment where we infuse and exaggerate the quality of that thing, that person, that event, as though it can grant and bestow this happiness that we're seeking to an exaggerated quality. So it's a desire born of misunderstanding, of exaggeration, imbuing the object with qualities it doesn't have. And then our happiness is dependent upon that kind of desire. And so often pleasure gets confused with happiness. And this desire that's being talked about, it can't quench your thirst of desire, right? And then you just want the next thing. Then we just want the next thing and the next thing. And we don't even recognize, wow, the thing that I'm not even interested in today, I had once worked really hard to get. Now I'm not even interested. And then, but this next thing, and if I get that, until it's not interesting. And it just cuts through contentment. And attachment in this sense is the opposite of love. When we love someone, we want the best for them. When I'm attached to you, I want the best for me. So you can make me happy. It's a very different thing. And so we can actually love people if we're not attached. We can actually care for them, want the best for them, want, our relationship to be healthy and well, and we're willing to do the work to make that happen. When I'm attached to you, I'm really trying to shape you to be the kind of person I want so I can be happy with you. That doesn't usually work out very well. And so recognizing, and this is the first step, and this is what's being pointed out, is the impermanence and unsatisfactory nature of the object that I'm attaching to. And it's going to be fleeting, impermanent, and it won't satisfy a sense of lasting happiness if I'm attached to it. And so if one can see that, then you can actually enjoy something knowing it'll only be here for a little while. It's pretty good right now, and that's okay. And I'll enjoy it while I have it. And at some point, it won't be here anymore. And then we actually get to enjoy things instead of, cling to this is mine. I need this. And then we get so devastated we don't have it. It's really a fascinating thing our mind does. You guys have heard me say this example in the past, that thing that you treasure, you've had it since childhood, it means a lot to you and all that. And you're
You're frozen, John.
Hear me making fun of me. Welcome back. Our internet went out and back on for a moment. So this is actually one of the things to really work with. So nothing to rush through here is, can I identify when I get impulses and desires, the difference between attachment and appreciation? Something that is fulfilling versus something that is temporary, providing a pleasure that's actually undermining a longer term sense of well-being. Doing something that'll feel good in a moment as opposed to something I'll feel good about later. So in virtue, you're doing things that you'll feel good about who you are. And, nothing wrong with getting, a nice jacket or a coat or a nice pair of shoes. You worked for it, you earned it, you shopped for them, you thought these would be good. And but you probably don't need 30 pairs. How many pairs of shoes you got, Sam?
I don't know. For years, I had like 2 or 3.
2 or 3, okay, yeah. And there's nothing wrong with having a lot of shoes. It's where's the mind going with them? That's the thing. It's where's the mind going with them? And we can be attached to maybe only having 2 pairs of shoes and not allow ourselves to have a 3rd pair, right? There's a good story with monks have vows, not touch women and to be live celibate and so forth. And the old story is that 2 monks are coming to a big kind of fierce river, and there's a woman who needed to get across. And one of the monks just, no, I'll carry you, and picked her up, carried her across the river, and then they continued on. And then the 2 monks are going, and the younger monk's like, how could you do that? And you picked her up, you broke your back. Like he's going through this whole thing for like a mile. And finally, the other monk looked at him and said, I put her back down at the river. You're still carrying her. You're still carrying her, And that's the thing. What am I attached to? I can be attached to my vows. I can be attached to, being aesthetic and not allowing myself something good. And so it's not about the object. It's not about doing things that are, meaningful and feel good. It's about realistically, is there an exaggerated quality to them? Is it undermine my happiness? Is it something I'm exaggerating the qualities of? Or is it something I get to appreciate and enjoy while I can? May not be here tomorrow. Might like your car, and it might not be there tomorrow. I've had that happen. I walked out in front of my house. Car's not there anymore. It's kind of surreal. Have you guys had that happen? Yeah. Drink or use any. I'm sorry. I guess our internet keeps popping out. We'll keep coming back, though. You're not attached, right? Yeah. So these, when we're noticing even any sense of agitation or anxiety, you start these afflictions, you may notice that it's arising because I'm very attached to something, right? I want something to work out a certain way. I want this thing to be like that, and that my happiness is dependent on that. And I don't even recognize that, maybe I was happy before I had that. It was okay. And so this is going to be the biggest issue, right? And then you might find out that all your friends went to this thing last night and you didn't even know about it. You were pretty happy today until you found out they all went and you didn't get to go. Yeah. I was okay. And I thought about this, and I'm not okay. Desire, that there'd be this pleasure that I didn't get. The mind does this all the time. It does it, so it's really understanding. And when it gets those graphic descriptions, we can see how the suffering arises, and even how we look, how others look. Attraction is one element, or things in our lives, the stuff that we have, the things we get to do, as though those things are what's going to make us happy. But it's not those things, it's how do we engage with those things, right? How do I engage with my friends? It's not where we get to go, it's how we get to be there with each other. How do we engage with where we get to go? And having clarity around that. So really having a sense of appreciation and contentment for what's available instead of clinging to it. So not holding too tightly where you crush it, but not too lightly where it falls away, but really appreciating the life that we get. Much calmer state of mind. Lost my Australian cowboy hat.
The black one?
It's kind of brownish, dark one, yeah. Sad, isn't it? I got more compliments than anything else that I've ever worn in my life on that hat.
How attached to those compliments are.
I was just noticing. I thought, well, I've never been complimented, so that's kind of interesting.
Probably left it in the car that got stolen.
Might have left it in the car that got stolen, yeah. But anyway, I don't have the hat anymore. But it was nice when I had it. But that's the thing, like these things, they come and they go. We just talked to a friend last night, had built their house, and then they had a fire inside, and the whole inside just got, they were able to rebuild. But, it's these things, right? How fortunate. And are we appreciating them when they're not on fire? Or do you just get used to it? I got one online, then we'll go to you. Okay. So, is that Keith or Kurt?
Trying to get them unmute. Thanks, John. I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to separate out the hat. I'm not going to, Keith said, accused me of that I was going to ask the question if it's impossible to have any fun. And I'm kind of asking that question actually. But no, I think.
So we can't have any fun? Sorry, I had to say it.
He's only heard that 4,000 times. We have this discussion about twice a week about no fun in the world.
There's no fun allowed in Buddhism now.
No fun.
Well, there is. I mean, but I guess I'm just questioning happiness here because I don't even know if I know what, without that attachment, I don't even know if I know what that means. Have I ever experienced happiness, right? And is it possible to experience happiness without having the afflictions being gone, right? Can you cultivate, can you actually do this? Like, that's always my question. I should just keep my mouth shut. Just like,
That doesn't sound fun.
No fun.
it's just like I have the same question all the time. It just seems impossible to do this sometimes, And then 5 minutes from now, I'm having fun, but then it's like, okay, well, am I really having fun, or am I just attached to something
I
I'm
see.
having fun about it? It's like
Kurt, you seem kind of attached right now.
It really helps a lot.
But just think about joy, watch my granddaughter do something that's, just wonderful, and that's just joy, and they did something nice or something. It's just joy. There's not an attachment there. There's just an acknowledgement of something. And you can observe people doing something nice, and you can see that happiness, and you can also appreciate your own efforts. I mean, you've earned the life that you have. You've done so much to have the life that you get to live, and to be the person you get to be, and that's where this appreciation versus attachment. There may be a little bit of sense of ego in that, but The difference is the attachment to it in the sense of it's required and it's imbued with exaggeration instead of just fun, you know? When you guys are cooking a meal together or, doing things that you get to, I mean, we'll leave pickleball out of it because that's a whole different topic, but, because I don't see how you're gonna have any fun with that. But, this internal way of, and we talked about this at CCR after the talk, is how we can actually limit our joy, worrying about how I'm attached to my joy, instead of deeply appreciate it. So when we think about equanimity, equanimity is non-interference with the flow of emotion, mental or emotional experience that's happening. You just don't interfere with it. You let it come and go, and it doesn't matter whether it's painful or pleasurable, but you don't interfere. So when it's painful, I'm not resisting the pain, because that's going to add the suffering. And when it's joyful, I don't interrupt the joy. You just let it happen. And what happens over time is, we get to our head gets in the way, right? Sometimes. But pleasure and joy based on, doing things you feel good about that you're a part of, and somebody does something nice for you, and, a lot of happiness. Yeah. So you can be, and I'm sure you have. We just need to try not to overthink it. The fascinating thing, and something to put in your back pocket, is that before all the labeling and concepts and structure and the conditioning, underneath all that is pure bliss, which is already there. It's your natural, genuine, it's already there. When you're not caught up in all that, it's joyful, it's bliss, and that's natural. It's not even thinking we need to go get it. And you'll notice when you're focused on any one thing, when you're in that flow, when you're in the zone and you're not conceptualizing anything, feels good. You probably feel it on your bike sometimes, right? Yeah. And probably skiing, you're focused until you hit the tree, then it's not very fun. But that focus, that attention, you're not thinking, very pleasant, very pleasant. So it's already there.
That distinction between joy and euphoria. For me, you just reminded me again that my brain goes to happiness equals euphoria when it's not that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned that over and over again, but it's deeply wired that it's like, if I'm not ecstatic, right? If it's not a peak experience, it's not happy, and I want that. And that's when the attachment comes in. But joy, I was just thinking about my son got married a couple weekends ago, and that was pure joy.
Mm-hmm.
It really was. I wasn't overly attached to outcomes there. I mean, it was just a wonderful experience. So I answered that. That helped a lot. Thanks.
Nailed it.
Good job, John. Earned your money
for tonight.
Yeah, we'll pass a basket later. And something to note there, that the difference between this sort of contentment and happiness, that sometimes ecstatic actually takes you out of that. You're too, like, your whole nervous system would shut down if you had full intense pleasure all the time. That's not peace, right? So serenity, contentment. So totally good to have the ecstatic, joyful joy, thing, but always the balance. Yeah, but joy, I think joy is a good reference point. Ben, you had something. Well, we're gonna get you a microphone.
Oh,
Okay,
I
Kevin
think it's
doesn't.
connected. It's not connected.
Why is
Oh,
it?
oh, yeah, okay, sorry. Go on.
All right.
All right. This is interesting. Well, let me see. So I like one thing I'm hearing in this is when you experience a desire, it's not bad, but it's an opportunity to step in before we start having compulsive thinking about it or impulsively act on it. The other, I've got like two questions that are kind of bouncing around and sort of like other ways that we may, I guess, relate to desire. And I guess one is like sometimes we, for a variety of reasons, encounter certain desires and we shut them down. And I'm wondering, so I guess question one is like, from a Buddhist perspective, what does that do? Like for me, it's sort of, it does have negative feelings. Like there's a sense of disembodiment that comes when we do that repeatedly over time. And then I guess the other question is, we can also see desire as like an indication leading us towards something which could be positive, and sort of how to interact with desire in that way, and especially from a Buddhist point of view, whether desire can actually be sort of helpful information from wherever, indicating something like, when you had a desire to go to see the Dalai Lama speak or whatever it might be. So yeah, I'm curious if those questions make sense.
Yeah, no, that's one of the biggest misunderstandings, I think, in Buddhism is the misunderstanding of the word desire. Because you'll read like Four Noble Truths, people teach, religious classes on Buddhism or things, and they'll say the cause of all suffering is desire, which, by the way, we just had a whole paragraph of how desire is just brutal. But it's unwise desire, right? It's a desire that is imputing qualities onto someone, something, some event that aren't there and cannot possibly grant you what you're hoping for, right? So, and healthy desire based in reality, good motivation, right? A motivation to be a good human being, to act with care and compassion towards others, to do things that you'll feel good about tomorrow. Instead of just doing something I'll feel good about today, but not tomorrow. It's going to give me a little pleasure. And so the discernment there is when the desire arises, it's like second tier thinking. Will I feel good about this tomorrow? If you feel good about it tomorrow, go do it, But if there's an impulse and a desire, well, how will I feel about myself tomorrow? Or on a more subtle plane, how much of my self-worth is caught up in having this? And, whether it's a degree or, whatever that thing is, this partner in my life, or, just these things, this house, that thing that I think is going, I'm going to have it made when I get this job, this thing, that deal. And then, you get this thing, that job, that thing, and so excited I have this job. And then, 3 months later, I have to go to work, it's, you notice the impermanent nature of it versus, yeah, this job's going to provide me an opportunity to, have a good life in terms of pay the bills, get my needs met, engage in some healthy activities. So it's always the capacity when the desire arises to, is this beneficial or not? Does it contribute to life I want to live? And there's a whole lot of things I can do that are really fun and I'll feel good about tomorrow. And there's a whole lot of things I could do that are really fun that have undermined every sense of happiness self-worth I've ever had in my life. I've chased a lot of addictions and unhealthy behaviors and had to learn how to be in relationships. I mean, if they would just make me happy all the time, it'd be so much easier. But So the desire as it arises is not to just stuff it. The answer was said earlier, is to notice its impermanence and its unsatisfactory nature. So when I recognize that any event in my life, no matter how pleasurable it is, will come and go. They've all come and go. I mean, we've all had incredible pleasure in our lives. We've had ecstasy. We've had all kinds of pleasures. And they've all come and gone. And they didn't grant me the inner peace, well-being, and contentment that I'm seeking. They've all come and gone. So if I can recognize, well, this thing will come and go, it's impermanent, I'm not going to get as attached. But it might be wonderful. You can have a lot of joy in impermanent events, right? This thing we're doing right now will come and go. A wedding will come and go. Playing frisbee with your dog will come and go. But it's fun while you're there. It's impermanent. But then the second part is it going to create unsatisfactoriness in my life? Will it add to more attachment, more clinging, more grasping? Or will it help me be the person I want to be and cultivate contentment? So does this desire provide an opportunity to engage in a lifestyle I feel good about and create conditions for me to be a person I feel good about being? Or is it going to create more attachment? And then with attachment, then I'm very worried about keeping what I got. I'm worried about losing what I have. I'm worried that I might not be able to keep it. Then you have all the unsatisfactory nature of it. Is it going to create those? Is it actually going to undermine your happiness? All very hard to do in a moment. But when we're just stuffing it, it's like, putting a dam in a stream. And then at some point it flows over, and the attachments or things, it's unhealthy. But if I can recognize a desire is arising and it's impermanent, the desire is impermanent, it will come and it will go. But is the desire healthy or not? Might be healthy. In which case, go for it. Might be unhealthy, and I know it's unhealthy, but I'm going to do it anyway. But at least I know it's unhealthy and I'm doing it, which is growth. That, okay, I'm going to work on in the future not doing it, but man, we're in it right now. And that's so much healthier than beating yourself up for doing it. You get what I'm saying? Because that restrictive, self-critical mind's not very helpful. I've had impulses and desires and habits that are strong, the whole sensation of the body's going there. And I know it. And I'm going, well, but I'm not capable right now of not acting on that. It's not really going to harm people. I just know it's not how I'll feel good about myself. And, but wow, the awareness of it's awesome. It's a step in the right direction, which enabled me to pick that up later and then learn from it and not have it be as strong. Keep chipping away at it. And, but if I keep just stuffing or beating myself up for doing it, it's stronger. It gets more energy versus, oh yeah, still have a lot to learn. Not there yet, and, but I'm learning. I'm learning. I'm learning. I'm better than I used to be. I mean, heck, I've been doing things to try to live more virtuous for over 40 years now, and still I have some habits and tendencies. I'm like, really? Still, this pops up and that pops up. And you go, yeah, that's all right. Not a Buddha yet. Just a human being, trying to be a better human being. So really gently working with those, but not, that hard, yeah, okay. a little transforming unskillful events meditation, work out a little bit. Then I've gone a longer period of time without doing that again. Yeah, we're okay. The key is to know we're okay. That's the thing. Jetsuma Tenzin Palmo, she's so good at that. That we're already okay. Yeah, we're doing some stuff. But that's the human condition, but it's not our nature. And over time we get a chance to work on all the conditioning and just recognize that we're okay. We're already okay. Yeah. This mind body thing has a lot of habits. I'm working on getting better with it. Boy, we're already getting to 7:20. We might have to pick this up. We're still in this is a big one though, right? So the thing to note is if in our life we can be clear about what our biggest affliction is, just work on that. Just work on that. So, when some of my journey in recovery of being a drug addict and all of those afflictions, my biggest affliction was using substances. So that was the big thing. Okay, I'm just not going to do that. And as that got better, had a whole bunch of other stuff pop up. Need to learn how to live life, be a nicer person, learn how to have emotions, and then, but there's generally always one thing that is kind of the biggest in a moment in my life, And so if you can identify that and don't worry about being a perfect person, just work on this one thing. And you're going to find as you chip away with that, then you get better, and it will actually take care of a lot of other things. As we work on our biggest attachments and desires, as you work on those, you're going to find other ones resolve. And then some others will pop up. But yeah. Yeah. Brad, microphone. Yeah. For the people online.
Is it worth because understanding the wholesome, unwholesome desires and how wholesome desires can help with the practice and take you further down the path. In the context, though, of meditative practice is what kind of we started with the hindrances. I would treat wholesome if some kind of desire came up in a practice where, say, my instruction is mindfulness of breathing, I would treat wholesome and unwholesome the same way, though. That would be a little bit different, right? Because those are both narratives coming up in the mind stream, and I'm kind of drifting from the instruction. So in that scenario, it would be a little bit different than kind of what we were just unpacking right now. Would you say that's right?
Yeah. So in the context of meditating and the hindrance of sensual desire pops up, it's basically your mind wanting to go do something interesting, right? Or dwelling on something that isn't. So it's not about wholesome or unwholesome at that point. It is much more about addictive, habitual tendencies of the mind seeking something. So it's not as much unwholesome as unwise, right? It's thinking this would be better. This would be funner. But I'm here, and I'm trying to meditate. So consciously, I'm trying to place something in the breath, and the mind's like, dude, we can be doing so much more interesting things right now. Or, dude, don't you have to go do this? Or what about that, right? And so in that sense, it could be thinking about hating someone in case they're wholesome or unwholesome, but at the base, it's much more of the conditioning of a general attachment based on unwise, thinking this would be funner, this would be better than what I'm doing. In which case you treat it that same. It's unwise, it's drawing you away from what would be healthiest, which is to meditate, right? To have a mind. Yeah, I often talk about, like if you're doing the practice of shamatha, so shamatha, which we, our primary one to cultivate attention, you're paying attention to one thing to the exclusion of all else. I'm like the breath, all right? I'm on the breath. And no matter what arises, delicious thoughts, great insights, blissful things, visions, that's not the practice. And you just let that go and you come back to the breath. And, tell people if God calls you, you let him know, I'll get back to you. I'm meditating right now. If it's important, you'll call back. You know, but it's like that because the mind is such tricky business that it's going to just want to, you're ignoring me. You're ignoring me. What about this? What about that? What about this? And so as you just, when you notice it, you just, okay, there's that, but I'm doing this now. And over time, you actually get to do this. And you're not fighting them. You're just not paying attention. Your mind can go do what you want. I'm attending to this. There's no battle here. Jetsuma talks about you don't offer them tea and entertain them. The thoughts. You just, sit here and they'll get bored with you. And then you attend that. But yeah, the desires, thoughts, and all that, the alluring distraction. Okay, well, let's dedicate the merit and wisdom, the time, energy that we spend here and throughout our lives for the benefit of all beings. And I'll get the dedication practice up here. So a lot of things we could have been doing on a Wednesday evening, but we've taken the time to engage with teachings to be more resilient, more helpful, to live lives that are virtuous, to engage in our lives in ways that are meaningful and productive, to be helpful, to be kind. Incredible amount of merit there. So let us dedicate any and all merit from our time together collectively for the benefit of all beings. May our collective efforts find their way into the world, reducing suffering and creating the conditions for freedom for all beings. And for our own continued spiritual growth, that we may recognize the wholesome, healthy, wise path that helps us engage in life in ways that are meaningful, productive, free of suffering, and liberating for ourselves so we can be of greatest benefit to all. And with that context and motivation, those who would care to, invite you to join me in the dedication. By this merit, may I soon attain the enlightened state of Guru Buddha, that I may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore.
Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha. Om Tare Tu Tare Tu Re Soha.